And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Happy Easter! From JRC today, we have what is the Pokemon team of Spider-Gwen, aka Gwen Stacy of Earth. I don't remember. But yeah, she is the world, obviously, where she is the Spider-Man or Spider-Person, not Peter Parker. Like with Miles and like with Peter, it gets a little tricky when you try to do Spider people after a while, because what makes them unique compared to others? Like, what exactly can you do to separate it out? So let's get started. You need a Spider Pokemon with a Spider Person, and I will go with Ariados. Its color scheme isn't exact, but it does match a little bit. There's some pinkish red there, a little purples, definitely some black tones. So I think that works fine. Should note that Gwen lost her powers, but now has a Venom symbiote, which mimics her powers perfectly. Now that being said, there's no good Pokemon answer for a Venom symbiote, or any symbiote for that matter. So what do you do then? Well, bear with me, but I went with Mimikyu here. Why? Well, because its lower body is definitely shadowy, dark, kind of like a symbiote. It also wears the guise of someone else that, well, in this case, to be loved, but B, to hide its real form. And that's kind of what a Spider Person does anyway. They wear the mask to hide and protect people, so they don't get hurt. So that's where I kind of went with that as well. Now, one of the things that Gwen is very well known for is the fact that she is part of the Mary Janes, a rock band, and she is an avid drummer. She's a very good drummer. And there is a drummer Pokemon, Rillaboom. And so I went Rillaboom. Makes sense. And in hindsight, maybe I should have made that the starter, but in the long term, it actually didn't matter. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, there are a couple other random things here that needed to be kind of worked on a little bit. One, she apparently did gain a similar ability to Miles, where she was able to generate electrical shocks. So I needed a Pokemon with electrical capabilities, electric Pokemon. I wasn't going to go Galvantula. That's because that, I think, solely should be Miles' partner Spider Pokemon. So I just went through the list of electric Pokemon to find one I think fits, and I went with Emolga. It's, again, kind of similar to Gwen in terms of the way it looks. Blacks, whites, the yellows aren't on there, but you can kind of mix and match Ariados with that to get the similar effect. And it's very agile and capable of almost flying. So I do like that Pokemon as the addition for the team. But then she's also capable of camouflaging herself. And what Pokemon is best known for that? Well, it's the boring answer, folks, but it's Kecleon. And this can also be a callback to when her friend, Peter Parker, became the lizard in her world. So there's that. Now, last but not least, though, we ran into a little bit of an issue. What do I use to fill out the last member of the team? And I thought, well, okay, all the Spider people are physically very strong, capable fighters, so let's put a fighting type on the team. But what fighting type? What Pokemon? And I wanted to try to go something a little stronger, and so I ultimately ended up with Meloetta, the not Aria form, the other form, but putting a Meloetta, the fighting form. Now, as far as we know, Gwen is not a singer. She doesn't sing with her group. But that doesn't mean you still can't have a musically inclined individual here. And the fighting type for a mythical means that it's pretty powerful, but not overpowered. So that was my thoughts on this overall collection. Now, that being said, the question that we always ask when we do these videos is A, how balanced is the team? What weaknesses, what strengths does it have? Well, it's got two weaknesses to Psychic right off the bat with your Ariados and your Meloetta. It's also got two weaknesses to Fire with Rillaboom and your Ariados as well. Three weaknesses to Flying with your Meloetta, Rillaboom, and Ariados. Two weaknesses to Rock with your Emolga and your Ariados. Two weaknesses to Ice with Emolga and Rillaboom. And then two weaknesses to Fighting with, ironically, Meloetta and then Kecleon. Now, its strengths, though, do seem to kind of balance it out. Where you had three weaknesses to Flying, you do have three strengths against Dark, with a poison type, a fairy type, and a fighting type. You also have two strengths against Psychic as well, again, with a bug type and a ghost type. You have three strengths against Grass, with a flying type and a bug type. You have two strengths against Fighting, with a flying type and a fairy type. You also have two strengths against Water with an electric and a grass type, and finally two strengths against Walk with rock with a fighting and a grass type as well. So, honestly, not a badly balanced team. The immediate problem, though, is this. This team can't become champion in any region. Why? Well, in the first 4 regions between Kanto to Sinnoh, you either are going up against a rock gym, which is going to kill your Spinarak outright, or a flying gym, which is going to kill your Spinarak outright. There's no middle ground here whatsoever. There's just nothing I can do. Now, to be fair, I wanted to also know if that hadn't happened, would this team been able to beat the Elite Four had you managed to get past there some miracle? And the unfortunate answer to that is no. This team is not going to be able to handle Blue because it starts out with a Pidgeot, which that Ariados is going down to. Yes, you have a Molga, but then he's just going to bring out Rhydon. You might switch out Molga with Rillaboom, but Rillaboom's going to take a hit. Then you're going to bring down Rhydon. Then he can bring down a fire type, whatever fire type he has, and at that point you have no clear answer. Not to mention he's still got Alakazam, which the one mon you really have, the only mon you have left to handle Alakazam is Mimikyu, and it's going to outspeed it, so that means its disguise ability is already going to be used up. So that's not good. And then you still got to deal with the the water, electric, fire combo plus the starter. The grass, electric. It all depends on what the combo is. If it's Charizard, it's an execute and a it's an execute and a Gyarados. If it's Blastoise, it's a Arcanine and an execute. And if it's Venusaur, it's an Arcanine and a Gyarados. Either way, even with, say, a strength against water, it's a Gyarados, meaning unless you're using a Molga, you're actually probably not taking that thing down with Rillaboom. Unless you're using Boom Burst, just spamming the shit out of that. And then you still got to deal with the starter, and I don't even know if the Molga is going to be alive at that point. So that's no go. What about Lance? The only thing you got immune to Dragon is that Mimikyu, and he's got other things besides Dragons on the team. That Mimikyu goes down, you have no answer for anything on that team. Yeah, Meloetta's got decent stats, but that's only going to help you so long. Emolga can take out the Gyarados pretty quick, but then you got to deal with the Aerodactyl and the Charizard. Not to mention then the 3 Dragonites with Outrage. So, yeah, you're S out of luck on that point, man. Then Steven, Steel types, the only mon you have on this team that's even remotely strong against Steel is Meloetta. That's it. And unfortunately, Claydol's a ground psychic type. Amaldo's a bug type, which means it's neutral thanks to the bug typing. Metagross is a psychic type, again, neutral. Skarmory's a flying type, so again, neutral. And beyond that, I don't know if that Meloetta is going to last that long. And then the only 2 strong Pokemon that you have that can even do remotely anything at that point are Rillaboom, who can handle the Lileep at least, and the Claydol, but is no good against Steel typings. And maybe the Emolga to get a couple extra lightning attacks out, and maybe Mimikyu, but its Fairy type is weak against Steel. So, yeah, no good there. And then there's Cynthia. You're boned against Cynthia, because even if you have an Ariados at the same level as that freaking Spiritomb, Ghost resists bugs, so that's already making it neutral. And Spiritomb's stats are just far better than Ariados's. Even if you manage to take that thing down, it's going down to whatever comes out next regardless. Yeah, Emolga could handle the water types and maybe even Roserade, but she's just going to bring out Lucario or bring out Gastrodon, who is immune to electric type moves. And then you have nothing on this team except for Mimikyu, of all things, that can even remotely stand up to Garchomp. So it's a no-go. What about Unova, though? Unova, you can do a little bit better than, say, the other regions, but you're still not making it the champion. You're just not. Like in Black and White 1, you would lose to Chile, so you'd have to go up against either Cillian, or Cress. And then you got to be lucky. And then you got to deal with Lenora, who you might be able to handle. Then you got to deal with Berg, who at that point, honestly, you're not going to be able to handle very well. Because Fairy type moves bugs actually resist Fairy type moves. And yeah, he's got he's got enough variety on the team to kind of take on the one problematic Mon, which is Mimikyu. Even then, even if you get past that, you still got to deal with Elisa, who's got those freaking Emolgas with Aerial Ace, which means your Rillaboom and your Ariados are cooked. And Mimikyu can only take one hit. So yeah, you could not beat either of those gyms, because even if it's Black and White 2, either of these regions, because even if it's Black and White 2, you still would stop at Elisa. So that's a no-go. And then even if you got to the champions, so by some, again, miracle, Hydreigon comes out and obliterates this entire team. There is no good answer for Hydreigon. Even Meloetta and Mimikyu, who have some typing advantages against it, do not have the stat pool of the match. Like, it's just not happening. And then you have to deal with Alder, who is a Selgor outspeeds everything, including Emolga on this team. So unlikely something surviving against it, like outright. Like Rillaboom can't go up against it. Ariados is more or less neutral to it. And then you still got to deal with the Selgor, which you then don't have a good answer for that. There's Escavalier, because it's only got fire as a weakness. Assuming Mimikyu is not dead, it can at least handle the Druddigon. But there's also the Buffalint, which is just a hefty, beastie Mon. And you have no good answer for that goddamn Volcarona, save for Emolga with an Aerial Ace, and that's assuming that thing's even alive. And even then, there's no guarantee you're taking that thing down. If it gets a Quiver Dance off, you're effed. So, yeah, neither of those are happening. Kalos, though, is the first place you could actually legitimately go through the entire region. This is because it's bug against Viola. You'd struggle, but it's not impossible. Luckily, you'll have Mimikyu, which means Tyrant is actually not that big a threat. Aurora could be a little bit of a problem, but it's not the end of the world to deal with that thing. And after that, you're kind of neutral to Flying Press and a lot of fighting moves at this point, or straight out immune. So you should be fine there. And then the rest of the gyms really aren't that bad, even the ones you have a type disadvantage against. Really, it's the Elite Four you're going to have some minor problems with. You're not going to struggle really against the water one at all. I can never remember his name. But Steel you're not really good against Steel, save for one Mon on this team, and two of them resist fighting with Scizor and Klefki. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. Dragon, you only got the Mimikyu, and they have other moves, particularly because there's a Dragalge on that team who's got poison moves. So good luck. And then Flava, or whatever is her name, the Fire Elite Four Specialist. Again, it's one of the types you actually have a specific weakness against. So you will be having a problem there. And then even if you did manage to get through all of them, Diantha Hawlucha alone is going to probably take down your Ariados, because it's going to Swords Dance, Flying Press, and eventually just take that thing down. You don't have a type advantage against it. So you're probably going to want to have to try to go into Emolga to take it down. This is assuming, by the way, that Lucha just doesn't out-blitz you with like X-Scissor or something like that, which it also has. So it's doesn't look good. And then if you bring it down, you still got to then deal with the Tyrantrum, which, yeah, Mimikyu might be able to handle something, but it's also got, like, Head Smash or something like that? And then there's Aurorus, which at that point you got to use Meloetta. And then Meloetta comes out, but then you got to deal with Goodra, which you at that point don't have any good answer for. So you got to hope you can bring it down. Then there's Gourgeist, which you no longer have a type advantage against. And then you got to deal with Mega Gardevoir, which you do not have you have no strength against. It's not a good matchup, to say the least. But it's the one place I think you could legitimately get to the Elite Four. Galar, you stop at the third gym, because two of your Mon are straight out weak to fire. Straight out weak to it. And the only thing you have is a Mimikyu, who's a fairy, who's not even that good against fire. So you straight out can't get past the third gym. And even then, if you got to Leon, you got Aegislash, who is a steel ghost type and resists pretty much everything Ariados would throw at you. So you're going to have to switch out into, I guess, Mimikyu. And Mimikyu might go down before the Aegislash does. Even if it doesn't, he brings out Dragapult. He's got more than enough moves to take down that thing, even with it being fairy. And then he's got more than enough moves to sweep this entire team. Emolga, done. Shadow Ball, it's good. Meloetta, You got both Thunderbolt and Flamethrower and Dragon Breath on that thing. Same with Kecleon and Rillaboom, Flamethrower. So, yeah, it's not happening. Last but not least, Paldea, and the answer again is no. Now, surprisingly, though, there's a chance you could make it to the Elite Four. Katie's actually going to be your biggest hurdle because you're only going up against an all-bug team with one little Spinnerack. Not the best odds, to say the least, but not impossibly, especially if you can get some poison off and maybe able to bump your stats a little bit, put a berry or something on it, just survive at least a hit or big hit or something like that. I wouldn't say it's god impossible, but it's not easy. Luckily, though, the other two, the next gym would actually be easier. Brassius is grass. Spinnerack has an advantage against it. Mimikyu's got its disguise ability, so even if Sudowoodo uses a rock throw on it, or rock tip, I can't remember which rock move it had, it should, Mimikyu should be able to survive and take it down. Then you should actually be able to survive Iona okay, because you have grass, which resists electric, and again, Mimikyu. Then you keep moving on, and it gets easier as it goes, but nothing is 100% confirmed. And then when you get the Elite Four, Rika is probably the easiest one to deal with, because you have a grass monkey, that funky monkey. But she does also have a ground fire and a ground poison type with Clodsire and Camerupt. So you do have to be careful, to say the least. But then you get the Poppy, and again, you only have one Mon on the team that's actually good against Steel, and she's got Corviknight, which is flying, which resists. Tinkaton, which is fairy, which resists. And also Magnezone, and there's the Copperajah. So, yeah, I think you stop at Poppy. And even if you didn't, I think you'd probably stop at either her or Larry. Because the flying type, even with a Molga, is not that easy to deal with, especially if it's like Tropius, who resists electric moves, or just something that outspeeds. You're not in an arguably good way. But either way, I don't think you get past Poppy, to be honest. Either way, though, that's my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Happy Easter. I'll see you for the next one. The week of Who Would Win starts tomorrow. Bye.